On this episode right here, you're going to see me picking up a Yale 360 forklift going from Lawrence, Kansas to Livonia, Michigan. This load went from being a legal load to an overweight load, and then got riddled real fast with permit routing issues. Stick around.
Right across these plains and prairies, Rocky Mountain highs.
Good morning, everybody. Thursday morning, got our pickup in Lawrence, Kansas. I pulled in, and they were standing outside waiting on me, basically. I pulled right in. He came up to the window, said, "Man, back in right there, drop. I'm gonna be over before you get it unhooked. We back this thing on." So everything happened pretty fast this morning. Didn't have a chance to get the camera out, but all loaded up now. Man, morning coffee. I'm all loaded up now. I'll go show you securement on it, show you load, and then I gotta do a height measurement real quick just to be 100% sure. I think it looks way under, but gotta do a height measurement. Definitely got to scale this thing. Not real sure how we're going to end up on the weight. So, all right, so here's our load right here. It's a Yale 360 forklift, 8 foot 4 inches wide. It's supposed to be 12 foot tall. I think with that, we tilted put the forks up a little bit and then tilt the boom down, and that gets your height up there. Instead of being standing straight up, that gets it to be down a little bit. Sometimes you end up, in order to get it under the height you need, sometimes you end up having to disconnect that pin right there on this arm and dropping this thing way down. But this one, I don't think we had to do that. But securement was pretty simple. 3 chains on the front. I X-chained from both sides and then ran one across the middle, all the way across. And the back they have these tie-down points right here. Ran chain through there, X'd it over the other side, did the same thing on the other side. And then I ran an additional chain through the rear hitch. So give us another extra chain heading backward, or pulling backwards. We don't need to cover the exhaust on this one. It's got the tip in it, which doesn't allow water to come in, and it's facing backwards, so no air can get in there. So no need to put a turbo saver on there. I don't think it'll matter anyway. So grab my high pull and get looks like I got a bungee cord up those chains, but I'm gonna grab my high pull, take a height measurement, see what we end up with here. I don't think that height is really gonna be an issue. Looks pretty low. I'm more concerned about the weight. All right, here we go. The high pull out, a couple bungee cords, get these chain tails. I also heard a rumor that DOT has decided to start enforcing I'll loosen this one up. They've decided to start enforcing where your chains aren't allowed to be touching, that you're using for securement. Let's see what's going on with this thing. There we go. So I'm gonna go ahead and put edge protectors in here. Just in case that's true and they're starting to enforce that gibberish. Man. Woo! Getting too old for this. All right. All right, I should keep them chains in the middle. Go ahead and get a height measurement here. See where we're at. Just to be sure. All right, so I think this back corner of the mast is the highest point. I'm gonna rest on that. There we go. Make sure we're straight. 12 foot 9 inches there. And just because this looks like it might be a little bit of a problem, that's 12 foot 5 inches. So we are way good on that. Let's hope the weight looks as good as the height. I'm gonna run it out and close first scale I get to. I'm gonna get a scale on it. They don't have one here. There's no way of us knowing. My gauges are my gauge looks good on my drive tires, but this thing's set so far back that that worries me a little bit. Those drive tires, I would think, would be the lightest part, given that it's pushed so far back. But the reason I pushed it back like that, my thought process was, if you're under gross and you have a multi-axle setup, like a 6-axle setup like I have, and you're under gross, you can be over that rear axle, because there's 3 axles back there. I get, instead of having 17 and 17 to total 34 on a tandem axle setup, I have 17, 17, 17. So as long as I'm under the 80,000 gross, I can have additional weight back there over 34,000 because of the extra axle. So I shoved it all the way back, hoping that I'd be like 79,800 pounds, and make sure that the weight was not on the drive, because I only get 17 and 17 on my drive tires to be legal, 34,000 total. So that extra axle, it's an extra 17,000 pounds. Try to take the weight off the drive tires, put it on the trailer is what I'm trying to do here. As long as I'm under gross, then I'm good. So we're gonna see, I'm gonna get it to the scale, we're gonna see what it looks like. But that was the thought process, was shoving it way back like this. I backed it on. Counterweight on these things is the heaviest part. So the motor and the counterweight and everything's in the back. So the heaviest part of this unit's in the back. So that's the reason I turned around, backed it on, and then pushed it as far back as I could. I'm just praying to see a 7 as the first number when I get to the scale. So, Take my working boots off, put my driving shoes on. Keep the cab of my truck clean. Keep my feet from sweating too much in them leather boots. Off we go.
To the distance, like ghost riders in the sky. Black smoke and white line, still horses side by side. It's more than just a living, y'all. Hell, it's our way of life. We're the last of the cowboys, the giddy-up gone boys. 18 wheels on the concrete, it's a slow and dying breed. Rolling like Jesse James, a modern day outlaw game. If you're out here riding with me, come on back and make some noise. We're the last of the cowboys. It's a family tradition, diesel's running through our veins. Our daddy showed us the roads, we were born in the fast lane. Branded by our heroes, taught to saddle.
So at the end of that clip right there, I said I was really hoping to see a 7 as my first number. That is not what happened. Not even remotely close. Right here's the scale ticket. I'll put that up right now. This thing ended up being about 4,400 pounds overweight, roughly, somewhere in that neighborhood. That is, you know, there are some numbers, some weights that you would, you'd be okay with running a little bit overweight. You can get away with certain things, especially with triaxle trailer. You can get away with it. 4,000 to 5,000 pounds is not something you play with. So what I ended up doing there was after I got the scale ticket, I called my permit office. I talked to them. I said, hey, give me these permits. Here's a scale ticket. It's overweight only. They do a fantastic job getting me my permits. Took a little bit longer than usual today. I don't know why. Maybe the permit offices for the states were all at lunch right when we asked for those. That's a good possibility, but took a little bit longer, but that wasn't any big deal. The other problem that came into play here, and it's something you're going to deal with, and I'm going to put the screenshots up so you can see it, is this is something I've talked about on my permit. When I was talking, one of my episodes, I was talking about how to read a permit, and one of the things I talked about was always check your routing. This is what happens. This is why in that episode I said, I continued to kind of harp in that episode about look at the routing, look at the routing, look at the routing, look at the routing. This right here is why. Illinois, I asked to not go anywhere near Chicago. The kind of most logical route from where I was going was up 55 to 80 to 94 into Michigan. I didn't want to do that because that whole stretch of 80 and 94 below Chicago, Gary, Indiana, that area is heavily under construction. It's also got a very, very huge amount of traffic, and the time I would have been hitting it would have been, I just didn't want to go there. It would have cost me a lot of time, and in fact it did cost me time. So I asked to go the southern route and then come up through Indiana, up 69 through Indiana, and I got my Illinois permit and I looked at it, and they didn't give me that southern route. They gave me the northern route. So I said, well, it is what it is. That's what they gave me. You know, you don't always get what you want when you're asking for these permits. So they gave me 55 to 80 to 94. And when I finally got my Indiana permit, and I got a good look at my Indiana permit, they gave me the southern route. So if you're looking at both of these permits, and you're going to see them here in a second, I'll put them up on the screen so you can see the routing for the Illinois permit has me clear up on 80-94 just south of Chicago, but the Indiana permit has me coming in way down on 74 and then coming up to 69. So this is why I said, this in that video that I made, this is why I harped on always look at your routing, always look at your routing, because these things happen. Now our two choices here, Really, there's only one choice, but the choices we have are either go off route till I get to Route 69, because I'm currently sitting just inside Indiana on 80. I either go off route till I get to Route 69, or I order a new permit that matches up for where I'm at right now. So really, there's only one choice there. So that's what happened with this load. Load grew in weight. The one thing I will say that I wasn't all that impressed with, and this is something you got to deal with, and this doesn't usually happen to me. I'm real good, and I got a guy backing in right next to me here. This doesn't usually happen to me. I'm real good about kind of seeing and paying attention when I'm talking to brokers. Unfortunately, this broker here got one. He snuck one by me, and I didn't catch it. When I called him and we talked about this load, he went over the dimensions: 8 foot 4 inches wide, 12 foot high, 20 foot long, roughly. Legal load is what he said. That's almost exact word for word. 8 foot 4 inches wide, 20 foot long, 12 foot high, legal load. I said, okay. Send the rate con, and I didn't see it. I didn't catch it, but it says 42,000 pounds on the rate con. There is no RGN. I don't know of anybody pulling an RGN that is under 38,000 pounds lightweighted. So this is a heavy load no matter what. This was going to be heavy. Had I seen that 42, or had he said that 42 when I was talking to him, then I would have said, wait a minute, we're going to be overweight. This is an overweight load. I'm going to need you to cover these permits. He snuck one by me. I called him. I said, hey, this is overweight. I sent him a copy of the scale ticket, and he said, this is an all-in rate. I sent you the rate con, said 42,000 on it. So I missed it. My fault. I didn't catch it, but that's one you got to watch for. When you're talking to these brokers, you're going to be very specific, pay very close attention to what they're doing, because they will sneak one by you, and that's what happened to me today. So
Up and move, keep this country rolling. We're damn proud of what we do. We're the last of the cowboys.